We're back talking about foods and ingredients outlawed in other parts of the world, but okay for us to eat in America. Joining us now is longevity dietitian and gut health expert Ella Davar and holistic functional doctor, Dr. Anya Zaghetti. Thank you guys for joining the round table today.
So good to be here.
Great to be here. Thank you, Gail.
So first of all, I want to talk, and I'm kind of throwing this question out there, is that every single time I travel with my family abroad, even into South America, you can eat whatever you want to eat there and not gain a pound. And I know we do a lot more walking, but still we're eating more foods and things that I would never grant myself here in the United States, like bread.
I feel you on that. I moved to America and I gained a lot of weight, and I became a dietitian to figure it out on my own because I love food. I love eating good food, and why I still travel to Europe, and there I can overindulge and eat good food. But here in America, a lot of ingredients that are either added, like chemicals and additives, or even the produce here is genetically modified, and that builds up and that triggers some of the immune system from our gut, and that could cause some inflammation, especially when we're exposed to it chronically.
Yeah, and you both, I love having you both as guests because I know you travel extensively. Dr. Zaghetti, same holds true. You see that not only with yourself, but with the clients that you work with.
Yes, exactly, Gail. Last summer, I spent some time in France, and I was able to enjoy croissants. And I haven't had a croissant here for I don't even know how many years. And I didn't pay the consequences at the other end with digestive issues like I would if I consumed the foods here. And I have patients that say the same thing to me all the time, where they'll go on vacation and they're able to indulge and enjoy the foods that they want in other countries. And if they were to eat the same foods here, they would be paying the price.
Yeah, and you just notice with the landscape in other parts of the country that, quite frankly, you don't see people with the weight issues that we see here in the United States. And I think it's unfair to a lot of Americans that they don't realize it's not their fault. It's what's added to the foods, like food colorings is a huge culprit.
It is. And actually, weight gain is just a visible symptom, but there's a lot of health issues, specifically in our gut, that could trigger autoimmune conditions or problems with hair and skin. And that's not necessarily as obvious, but it has a lot to do with the foods that we consume and here in America. And I recently treated a patient from Germany that moved to Florida, and we did a food sensitivity panel for her, and she came back allergic to partially hydrogenated vegetable oils, which she was not exposed to in Europe. And with that, I thought it was a good idea to bring up the vegetable oils because they destroy the mucous lining of gut, and that what causes some of the autoimmune conditions. And overall, after it triggers the gut, then it triggers allergic reactions to skin and autoimmune conditions.
It's one of the top things that you brought up at the top of the show, yeah. Dr. Anya.
Yes, the brominated vegetable oils, and those are definitely a major issue for gut dysfunction. And that rang true for myself, and why I became a holistic functional doctor was my own gut health issues initially. And I ate pretty much anything that was available to me, especially going through college. Definitely did not have the diet that I have today, and I know that caused a lot of gut issues for myself. And then further on, that is the pathogenesis for autoimmune disease, and I do have Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is the autoimmune thyroid hypothyroidism, and that is very often triggered by breakdowns in our gut lining, which is due to a lot of these chemical additives that are in our food products.
Yeah, it's interesting because, and I shared this with both of you, that I don't have the extreme Hashimoto's, but I do suffer from hypothyroidism. And what was interesting, after going to doctor after doctor after doctor, it was the one doctor that changed all my dietary intake that made the most difference, because I was just getting over medicated. Every time the symptoms would get worse, another prescription would roll out. But really, I had to go back and reevaluate everything I was eating and not glucose. And then it was just interesting to me because he knew I was taking a trip, and he said, And listen, while you're over there, go ahead and eat the pasta and eat the bread. Enjoy it while you can. So even doctors here know that it is our foods making us sick.
Yes, and I'm glad you're able to find a practitioner that was able to dive deep and get to the root causes of your specific imbalances, because it is unique for each individual and it's very often missed. Mine was misdiagnosed and missed for a decade and a half that I was suffering.
And I know this is a lot of why you both do, but most recently I went through a poop screening with you that we're going to be talking about. Gut health test. I know she doesn't want to use the poop part, but it did involve a little sampling there. And we're going to talk about it in an upcoming episode of Bloom. But you like to deep dive so you can get specific with what exactly each client needs.
Yes, and how we can improve the root cause, the gut health, microbiome. And in your case specifically, for other people who are watching, it's very important that we consume a right amount of fiber to help our body to detoxify some of those chemicals that we are exposed all day long, no matter how hard we try. So eating vegetables, the low-carb vegetables that I love recommending, arugula and diverticchio, could really help our liver to detoxify and balance out our hormones.
And Dr. Anya, you wrote a whole book, You Can't Outrun Your Fork, about how no matter how much we exercise, all the things that we do on the outside, if you don't get a handle on your diet and what you're consuming and pay attention to these ingredients that we're consuming, you're just not going to be well.
Exactly, and to take it one step further, you can't out-supplement a bad diet either. So I have a lot of people that try to say, okay, well, I'm not going to change my diet. I'll just take all these supplements. I'll still work out, but take all the supplements, and that should fix it. And that's not the long-term solution at all. That can be a great assistance during, your healing journey, but the food needs to be the foundation, and keeping it simple, keeping it basic, back to foods from nature versus things in a package is the absolute best way to go.
Yeah. I also like to add to that, support local farmers. If you want to get the best high quality food, know where your food comes from. Go talk to the farmers, look at their hands, look at their eyes, talk to them. How do they treat their food? What's the philosophy behind their brand if it's a company that, selling the food? Or the farmers that, how do they treat the vegetables? Do they use pesticides? Do they use organic produce? You'll be surprised. Local farmers, they can't even afford organic labeling, and that's what happened to me when I got into this industry. I started really talking to farmers, and they can inspire you a lot. They can inspire you to try new recipes. They can inspire you to really take charge on your health and to minimize exposure to chemicals in the production section.
We only have 30 seconds left. Dr. Anya, do you want to wrap it up with any advice for our viewers when it comes to what we eat?
Yes, unfortunately about 60 to 90% of the standard American diet is ultra-processed foods. And so that's foods with 5 or more ingredients, very far removed from the natural source. So like Ella was saying, I spent a lot of times actually visiting and staying on farms to understand where the food is coming from. So getting back to the nature sources and learning how to make quick, easy recipes at home is probably the best way to do it.
All right. Thank you both so much. It's been a great conversation. We're going to share this conversation on BloomTampaBay.com.